All right, next we're going to talk about hammers. This always reminds me of the adage, if all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So don't be that person. Use the right tool for the right job, but sometimes you do need a hammer. So let's talk about those hammers. Sometimes you need the right hammer, and we have different types for different applications. We'll start off with a finish hammer. This is the type of hammer that you'd most likely encounter if you get just like a basic tool set. And for a lot of household applications, this is really what you'll need. This is the one you want to reach for if you're banging in a wall picture hanger or something like that. So light work, and it's good for that. It's also used for driving finish nails, which you'll see like if you're putting a piece of trim on a wall, for example, you got your finish nail here. Sometimes it's helpful to, if you're starting that, hold it with some pliers to save your hands, because if you get your hands in there, you're likely to hurt them. Not that I would know. But you can start this and your wall would probably be more stable, so it would most likely hold on. Would you mind putting a hand on that and just holding it? So that, you can see how your finishing hammer goes with that. This would also be used in combination with a punch once you get down to the end. So if you're putting that finish nail down into your board and you want to countersink it so that the head is below the surface of the wood, you would use this punch here, and that helps to punch the nail in deeper there. So use that to transfer the force a little bit down. Ever seen that in action?
Not the punch, no. I
okay.
Don't know.
All right. So yeah, like for example, here we got trim, and if we had a nail head that was sticking out a little bit there, I could put it right there and then just bang it in, and then I could just caulk over it or put some wood filler in there, and it would be like it never happened. So that is your finish hammer. Next, we have a framing hammer. So the framing hammer. Actually, let me talk a little bit before we move on. Talk about the back side of the hammer. Okay, so here we've got a little wedge, and you can use this to pull your nails out. So it's kind of two tools in one. Sometimes it helps to put something underneath there so you can get a little extra leverage if you're towards the end, but it just pops the nail right out there by using leverage in that rocking motion there. So basically this becomes your fulcrum, and then this would be where you apply your force, and then that would be your load or resistance there where it's pulling the nail out. So we've got that. Next, we have a framing hammer. A framing hammer is heavier, and so it gets more momentum with the inertia there. A hammer is basically a large lever. So here, you are basically the fulcrum with your hand here, and then you are applying force in the middle of the hammer with that motion that you're applying and the rotation, and then the load is up here, and you're basically amplifying the force with that. And so it increases the amount of force by accelerating it. So almost works on that wheel and axle principle too, where by rotating the axle there, you've got a larger distance that you travel with the outer edge of the wheel. So with that, let's just take a look here. So a framing hammer would be used to drive larger nails such as this one, and this is one that you would use for framing, like a house. So driving nails into studs. Okay. Common thing with hammering, don't choke up on it here because that is going to decrease the amount of force you get. If you hold it down towards the end, you'll get a more powerful stroke, and you can drive your nail faster. So I'm not going to go to town on this because I like this work surface. But if I were actually driving a nail into a stud, I would be swinging with quite a bit of force, and you would see that acceleration into the nail. So next we have a mallet. So a mallet generally has a softer surface, and it's not going to be as heavy usually as some of the other ones. Actually, well, sometimes they are pretty heavy, but the surface of it is generally broader, and so the impact is kind of spread out over a larger surface. So you'll see mallets used often in combination with a chisel. So this is a wedge here that we're going to use in order to transform the force there. Would you mind, let's say, if you're very, very trusting. Okay, just putting a hand on that, and we'll see how we can demonstrate this a little bit. clamp this down and that would hold it nice and securely. But you can see how it chips away the wood there. Yeah. And so you can use that to make small shavings on wood, and really you can do quite a lot of carving with that, with the mallet and chisel combination. So if you need to just chip out a little bit of wood here and there, that's a great combination to use. And then next we have the cat's paw. This is not really a hammer, but it kind of falls into the same family in my mind, just because of it having the same kind of principles with the claw end of the hammer. Mm-hmm. And so with this is used often as a nail extractor. So it's got the little V-shaped groove there that you can, let's see, probably the smaller nail. Here you go. Ah, thank you very much, lovely assistant. All right, and so there, that can dig in, especially for those finer nails like the finish nails, and dig those out. And you can pivot on that edge there. But you can actually also use it in combination with a hammer too. You can see it's got this broader surface there. Oh, yeah. So if you need to really like dig in to extract a nail, let's say you got one that's dug in there really deep, you can tap on the back of it and those teeth will dig in around the nail surface. Gotcha. So that's a great tool to have. And then the broad end there, you can also use as a lever. So let's say you want to pry something up like that, it lifts that, and you can use that to wedge underneath and also use that levering action. So with that, this would be the fulcrum, this curved part of it right there, that contact point, and then you would apply the force to this end and lift on that end. So any new tools that you've seen here?
Well, this one I've never seen before either. Okay. This is definitely new one. The others I feel fairly familiar with, but sure. This one is definitely new.
Yeah, so I really like this one. This is one of my favorite tools. You can see it's well loved. I've used this a lot in demolition projects and things like that, so great tool to have.